I did prepare this specifically for this conference, but then I tried it out and it went well. So I wanted to try it out a little bit more here. So is everybody with me? Can I just start then, Olga?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to make at the end of this the point that I see currently artificial intelligence as, I should say this, I have found a usefulness in the perspective of looking at artificial intelligence as a mirror to us, the humans. So you'll hear a lot about AI. You keep hearing a lot about AI. What is it thinking? What is it doing? Is it sentient? Is it conscious? All these things. How can it be best used? So I'll address a few of those, but I just want to lend you this perspective. Consider it for a second that it might be a mirror because of the way that we train it. We train it on large data sets that humans created, and then we use humans to tell the AI whether what it's giving us back as a result of our queries, such as, for instance, when we generate image from text or when we generate text from text, such as ChatGPT. And then we have humans judging whether the output is acceptable to humans. Well, this is a very human loop. The AI is just in the middle, like a calculator, making everything, random and also more complex. But I think a way to look at it is as a mirror. Also, I want to consider whether this mirror can tell us some things about, or some concepts that we might not even know about ourselves, such as, for instance, the concept of conception in an invention. Who conceived the idea? Most legal systems on the planet have decided, after about 100 legal challenges that Dimitri can tell you all about, he's very much involved in this, that this inventor's software called Dabus, even though it is inventive, and even though it is actually inventing things that no human had thought of, in most court systems, it is not accepted as having personhood. So it is not assigned any inventorship rights, apart from the court systems of Australia and New Zealand, Australia and South Africa. So those two countries have seen it fit to give legal personhood for the purposes of inventorship to a piece of software. So I found that very interesting. And this person here, Stephen Thaler, is in many people's eyes the current living father of real AI, and he's behind many of the things that you see everywhere. He was also my co-founder for a while and the co-author for
the innovation and legislation issue. So AI develops so much exponentially, and maybe in some years it will be different from now. And it's very difficult for legislation to adjust. So I wanted to ask you, what would you think will be the main characteristics of a future-proof legislation, and whether, for example, a UN convention would work, or should we address that regionally or nationally?
No, from my point of view, the UN is very, very slow to kind of do things. What I suggest is that we have to kind of change our educational models. And I say that lawyers should be involved from the get-go of innovation. Law school education should change to be more accessible to technology challenges that are coming up. Now, if you go to law school, you take all the different courses that are there, but nobody really talks about innovation and the future. Nobody really forces the students to think of emerging ideas. And it's the same thing with the lawyers. No one talks about what's going to happen 10 years from now. No one really kind of sits down and thinks about it unless you work for a major company that is innovating, that is, creating these kind of things. But on a educational level, I think this is where the change has to happen, where we break down the barriers of all the buildings that we have, engineering, law school, and now we have a more sort of a connected way where Andreas and I have all these discussions all the time. He talks about some emerging idea, and I'm like, hey, what about this? And he's like, oh, I didn't think about that. It's law. Yeah, well, I didn't think about the ideas you're raising, but as a lawyer, I am thinking of all these things that we should think about. So the educational model has to change, because by the time we get to the United Nations conferences, and I've participated in some of those things when it comes to international treaties, forget it. It takes ages for them to do anything. Same thing with the legislative, Congress or any kind of the European Union is a lot more quicker, but, everybody else is very, very slow.
Great. Thank you so much, both of you. That was a stimulating discussion, and it was great having you here. Next time in person, I presume, I hope. So thank you so much. A big applause for you guys.
Thank you, Olga, and thank you, Dimitri.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be quiet now and listen to the next for as long as we can.